What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Frankie.
And I'm Alex.
And together, we are FnA Van Life.
This is the show where we bring you news from the nomadic community or interviews with other nomads so that you can know what it's really like to live life on the road.
And this podcast, we have something special for you guys today because we thought we should reintroduce ourselves since it's like the second podcast that we're doing now that it's on video. We've done 166 podcasts.
Will this be 167?
This is 167.
Very exciting.
It is. It's extremely exciting because we've done so many of them. So we're going to reintroduce ourselves today. We're going to talk about how we met, what made van life a reality for us, and like how did the conversation of van life even come up.
Basically, we're interviewing each other, fellow nomads.
Ooh, fellow nomads, you and myself. We weren't nomads previously, though.
No, we were regular normies.
Not only were we normies, but we were city normies.
New York City. Big city.
Well, you were a Toronto normie.
High anxiety.
New York City. I would say I had at least a little bit of like, I had some Florida, like little town vibe too.
I mean, I grew up in the suburbs and I went to university in Peterborough, Ontario, which is not a big town.
It's kind of small townish.
Yeah.
It's big for Canada.
It's like it's a small town that has a downtown. So like you feel like you're going downtown, but it's not like New York.
No, not at all. It's definitely not downtown New York. It's more like if you were in a small town in upstate New York and you were going downtown. It would probably be closer to like a Syracuse vibe.
Sure. Yeah, it's like a college town.
College town,
yeah.
And Syracuse is like definitely way bigger.
Probably.
It's probably like 500,000 people in Syracuse.
Yeah, I have no idea what Peterborough is.
Maybe 100,000.
We have a nice river.
Yeah.
Check it out.
All right, so let's get into the story. So let's go back, rewind a bit.
How about we ask each other questions since we're interviewing each other?
Okay, sounds good.
So, Frank, was there anything in your childhood or upbringing that led you to want to be in the outdoors and explore?
Honestly, that is a great question. I grew up in an area called Garrettson Beach in Brooklyn, New York, and a lot of people don't know Garrettson Beach even exists, even if you live a town or like a town over a city over in Brooklyn. They'd be like, where is that? And I would tell people like the surrounding towns, like Sheepshead Bay, Marine Park, and then people would be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. So it's such a small place. There's only one way in and out of it. I played out on the street quite often. We were always outside running around doing things. So like a love of nature was kind of there from growing up, going to a school called PS 277, which was at the time a school of marine biology.
For children.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That is pretty cool.
So, and the school was located technically on a swampland. And so like right behind the school, or not right behind, but a fair distance behind was a big swamp or a creek. And so we would go on field trips back there. And I always had this like love for nature. Mm-hmm. And I always loved animals growing up. And I was just very interested in being in and around the water. Whenever the summertime would come around, we would be at a beach or swimming or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And then my step-grandmother had a house upstate that we would go visit. My dad would bring us up during the summer, at least for like a week, maybe two, potentially. And it was a summer getaway for us. And it was like going out into like the middle of nowhere. And we would go hiking sometimes. We went to a place called Ice Cave Mountain when we were up there. And that was really cool. Made it into the paper.
What?
Yeah. That day the news was there.
And at the mountain?
At the mountain. Because it's the mountain in the summertime inside, it's ice cold. Mm. And so then in the wintertime, it's warm inside.
Weird.
Yeah, even though it's ice outside. So it's like a climate inside the mountain that like Native Americans and whatnot used to use to be able to withstand cold winters or hot summers. And they would use the cave as like a place to kind of live and settle, or get fresh air or like air conditioning. Or
keep their food fresh.
Yeah,
in the summer.
So it was a way of the natives doing that, and for me it drove me to want to travel, and then later on, I love snowboarding. So for me, it was like all this snowboarding stuff was happening. For me, I started snowboarding when I was about 23 years old when I moved back to Brooklyn from Florida, and I needed a winter sport, so I picked up snowboarding. And at the time, I also really liked going on hikes and whatnot. But yeah, I think it all stemmed from really wanting to be outside more. And then unfortunately my dad passed at 53 years old, and I had a back injury around the same exact time, and it just made me realize that like life was really short, and I wanted to be able to see, explore, and be around as many different places and people and things as possible. So that way I get like a real good essence of life. And so, yeah, then I was just thinking about like doing a truck and trailer and pulling that around. And I kind of had this idea for about, I would say about 3 years before I even met you. Yeah. And how about you? What do you think got you into wanting to go exploring van life or travel life or just being out in nature?
All of my memories of like camping as a child are not great. I
feel you.
I have like a few. I feel like I can count on like one hand the number of times that we went like camping, and there was always some kind of like story that went with it.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the suburbs of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and so very suburban. We played outside a lot, like big games of manhunt and things like that. But
Likewise, yeah.
there was this big Jesuit retreat behind our house that had like a giant valley, and like we would go explore back there when we were kids and like go down into the pits, and it was like really like there was one time where we were down there and it started pouring rain and we had to like climb out like the mud. Like I thought I was gonna die.
Like a river was raging down.
It's like the mud is coming down the hill and you're like coming up the hill. Like,
did you feel like you were like in the army or something, like trying to army crawl out?
It's like a movie, and then you get home and mom's like, we're going to church, like why are you covered in mud? And you're like, no. So anyways, I feel like I can only recall like a couple of times that we went camping or did outdoorsy stuff. My dad had a boat when we were growing up, so we did a lot of like sailing trips in the summer. So we would be on the water, and we would take the sailing boat out, and my sister and I would just be vomiting off the back of the boat for like until we would anchor somewhere, and then you'd have like a nice trip.
So that was almost like a forced to do it kind of moment.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, I think my mom was like, "We're selling the boat."
Yeah,
and Dad was like, "Fine, I guess so."
Great job, Shirley. That was smart thinking. Leave it to the mom.
Yeah, I mean, the mom had to deal with all the things. The dad was just like, "Boating is awesome." So
let's stay on that topic real quick, because I think it's really cool and interesting. Because I have one story like that too. I didn't do a lot of camping either as well, and so one camp trip that I remember, we went to the summer house, and me and my brother were like begging to be able to do like a sleep in the tent experience, and my dad put out the tent for us, and we helped him put it up and stuff, and we slept outside, and it was summer. And you're thinking like, oh, okay, like I'll probably be able to sleep in because we're just like in this tent. We woke up at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, sweating so profusely because the sun was beating directly on the tent. And we were like dripping. It felt like we were in a sauna,
Yeah.
And so that was one memory that was like, yeah, camping was never like top of my list.
No, the one time we went to like a camping trip as a family, you have to like pre-book your site and whatever. So we get to the site and we set up and whatever. And then I don't know how much longer later, but that same day, another family showed up and they were like, "This is our site. Like we have 1:15 booked." And my parents were like, "Well, we're already here at 1:15. Like we can't leave. Like whatever." Yeah. And so they were like arguing with each other about like who was going to get site 1:15. And I piped up and was like, "Can we all just like stay here for tonight and then deal with it tomorrow?
Can we all just get along?
Can we just like figure this out for now?" They were like, "Oh, okay, small child. That's actually a pretty good idea." But yeah, like the one time we tried to camp out in the backyard, we put up the tent, which I feel like was this old, stinky, gross thing that
they
like
typically are.
Never got used.
It sat in like the attic when it was wet.
Like musty, dusty, crusty. This zipper was rusty. And there was like, we go and we like, you have all these ideas of like you're going to set it up and like it's going to be so great. Our backyard was like a hill. So then your tent is like not comfortable. No. And then we get inside and there's a bunch of stink bugs. And we were like, "Oh my God, we can't sleep in here. Get out." So like we didn't even try to sleep in the tent. Like we all were like, "Ah," and then like ran away and was like, "We're not sleeping in this tent."
That's freaking great.
Yeah. But I feel like neither of us were like super outdoorsy people.
No. And so I'll like, let's talk about one good, do you remember a good experience?
Oh, but the bad ones are so much more fun to recall. I mean, it was always like nice to be out in nature.
Yeah.
I definitely like enjoyed being on the boat after I was done vomiting, and like just like being in the scenery and going swimming off the dock and like all that kind of stuff was always really fun.
I have one good experience, and one good experience is like I went on I think I was in like 5th grade, and we went on a trip to Dover, and Dover is in I think Massachusetts or Connecticut, one of the two. Correct me, in the comments, guys. But so we went to Dover, and it was a sleepover night there. And it was like Amish community.
Okay.
So like there was no power, like in the sense of lights and stuff like that. Everything was like candlelight. So you learned how to make candles like there. You did all these different activities, and you saw how they lived. And then you slept overnight there, which was like kind of outside in a tent type of deal. And I remember taking the like the little mint, like the little circular mints.
Like a Mentos?
Not a Mentos, but what's
with the hole in the middle?
The one with the hole in the middle.
Like a Lifesaver.
Like
a Lifesaver mint.
But like the minty ones.
Yeah.
Like, so either peppermint or
like a white,
wintergreen.
chalky.
And wintergreen was like my favorite. So I was like, all right, I'll take the wintergreen one. And I remember being outside, and if you actually like put it in your mouth and you go like this.
Oh, with the little crunchy blue bits.
Sparks.
Yeah.
And like something that you wouldn't expect to happen. So I remember this vividly. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Something that I'm definitely going to show Everly one day. And that was one of the experiences where it felt like being outside was just incredible.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
I definitely love like looking at the stars outside. I feel like I'm a good vacationer. I've always been a very good like vacationer. Like going to a friend's cottage for the weekend, and you have all your food and like everything that you need, whatever, but then you can enjoy the outdoors there, like with a house. But then you're outdoors and you can go see the stars and have campfires and do s'mores and all that kind of stuff. But like I'm not going for a 20-mile hike with the whole camp on my back.
No.
That's not my jam.
No, and we both agree to that, and I think that's the reason why van life, specifically suited us so well.
Well, and we met when we were both living in New York City.
Yeah.
So I did grow up in Canada, and then I was working for a firm in Toronto, and they offered me a job in New York. So I moved down to New York, and I'd been there for a couple of years when I met Frankie. And so we matched on a dating app.
Called Bumble. Bzz, little bees action.
Bumblebee.
Little honey. Little tip tap on the computer, or on the phone.
Hey. So Frank and I really connected actually immediately over like nature-y stuff, which is kind of funny because we're both living in New York City. Well, Frank was living in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I guess at the time I was also living in Brooklyn. I had kind of hopped around to the different boroughs.
Well, you just moved to Brooklyn, technically.
Yes, I had just moved to Brooklyn. For some like personal backstory, I had just gotten out of like a pretty shitty marriage. Yeah. And so I was like newly single for the first time in many years. And so I had just moved to Brooklyn, was like restarting my life. And got on the little dating app.
Yeah.
And Frank and I connected, and immediately, like, our chats were, like, very fun. And I feel like we were sending each other pictures of sunsets and flowers and bumblebees and just, like, nature-y stuff. And one of the things he had in his profile was something about, like, hiking or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, like, what's one of your favorite places to go for a hike? And you said Bushkill Falls?
Bushkill Falls, yeah.
Yeah. And so that actually became one of our first, like, away dates that we went on. Was, like, a weekend at Bushkill Falls.
Which was super nice. It's a really beautiful, like, cascading waterfall. There's several waterfalls in the spot there. And it was kind of close to where we were. It was less than a 2-hour drive. So it made sense for us to go to nature that wasn't too far away and go on this little trip. And, I remember matching on that website as well with you. And at the time, for me, I got out of a relationship about a year prior to that, had a serious back injury. And, it was kind of just like out of the dating scene for a while because I felt crippled at the time. So, it took me about 3 to 6 months to get back to work even. And during that time when we first started talking, I wasn't even working. I wasn't back to work yet. And, I worked for HVAC in a union in New York City, so I had a really good job, but I couldn't work because I was so injured. And so For me, it was just one of those moments in time where I was like, okay, I'm ready to get back into the dating scene. And then we linked up on Bumble.
I like that you were ready to get back into dating before you were ready to get back to work.
Well, I felt like I was starting to be able to, like, my job was secure.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like I wasn't going to go back to my job.
Right.
You know, I was always going back to my job. But
you were on like a workman's comp.
yeah, I just felt like I was physically unable to perform any task to a certain extent. And then so when I felt like I was physically able to finally perform again, I was like, okay, I'll get back on dating.
Fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, like, what if I was physically unable to, like, do anything, like, even I was starting to get back into, like, going on bigger walks and things like that. And so that's why I was going on these, like, really short walks while we would be chatting, and I would be sending you photos and stuff. And yeah, I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. And that's the reason why I didn't immediately go like, hey, let's hang out right now. Because it took me 2 weeks or so to even ask you to hang out.
Right.
And that was because I was making sure that, like, I felt good enough to even hang out with you.
Right.
You know, for like a length of time.
Right.
Because I did have a feeling that the date wasn't going to be like an hour or two long.
Right.
You know, even though that's kind of what we intended it to be. Mm-hmm. You know.
So you had mentioned previously that you had already been thinking about van life for 2 or 3 years before we met. Mm-hmm. And so before we get to our first date, which is where kind of like this whole van life adventure kicks off, what was kind of like leading you in that direction already? Yeah,
so you know, like I said, previous to that, I got out of a relationship about a year or so prior to that. And
had you talked with your ex about van life?
I talked to my ex about moving somewhere else, and she wasn't interested. And so for me, that was one of those things that was like, well, I don't really want to live in Brooklyn the rest of my life. And then other stuff happened as well that just ended the relationship. Mm-hmm. And so basically, long story short, for me, I wanted to move other places. I wanted to live other places. Like, my ideal place to live was like a mountain and a lake and have snowboarding in the background or hikes in the background. Every day I could just like kind of go out and do something in nature. And for me, that was like the ideal setting I wanted. And I didn't know where that was. So I wanted to like explore all of the United States and snowboard as many places as I could and find out the place that I felt like was right for me. And, you know, being able to do a winter travel and snowboard all these different places would kind of solidify where I want to live.
Hold on, Paco's about to...
We got interrupted by our daughter.
I think she had a bit of a nightmare. I put her back to sleep.
Good job.
There's no telling how many more minutes this podcast will last.
Yeah, so we're going to try to get through it as seamlessly and quickly as possible.
We might have to reconvene at a later outfit and lighting situation.
Yeah. So just like quickly to finish off what I was saying, I think where I was at was like the things that were making me want to leave and travel. Oh, I remember talking to the guys at work and being like, I'm going to travel soon, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, okay. They're like, good, kudos to you. Like, good luck. You're not ever leaving here.
Mm-hmm. Because nobody ever leaves.
No. And I just remember being like, well, I'm going to be the first one to prove you guys wrong. And then I met Alex.
Hello.
And on our first date, I feel like we shouldn't get to that yet. Yeah, we shouldn't get to that yet. I should ask you the same question.
Yeah. Well, so I had only lived in New York, well, maybe like 5 years at this point, but I was kind of like over New York. Like, yeah, I was kind of restarting my life there and had a new apartment and, you know, was like rediscovering myself as like a single lady. I'm a single ladies. But I don't know, I was just kind of like over the hustle and bustle of the whole thing. Like, it just was like so fast paced and I was having a lot of anxieties and I really didn't enjoy riding the subway. And yeah, like my job was good. But also I like looked around my job and like saw the ladies who had been there for like 20 years beyond me. I was an executive assistant at a financial firm. And I was kind of at like the top level that I could possibly be in that company, which means that I was supporting the number one guy in that office.
Yeah.
So there's literally, you know, as an executive assistant, the only way that your pay or your whatever gets better is if you support somebody more senior. Mm-hmm. And so I was supporting the most senior person that I could possibly support at my firm. And he was great.
Yeah.
Like, my job there was really good. The first year that I started working for him, he gave me like a 40% salary increase. Like, I was like, oh, so I've been underpaid the last 5 years. Like, cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, it was really good working for him. But I was looking around, and these women who had been there, like, in the it's all women in administration, let's be real. Or in my company it was. And I just was like, I don't want that life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just couldn't get on board with the idea that, like, okay, the only thing to look forward to is my 2 weeks of vacation a year. And I just, I like my job, but it's not like I love this company so much that I'm like, feel like I'm changing the world with the work that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't find it fulfilling. I found it, like, personally, emotionally, like, stressful and draining.
What I find is, like, what's fascinating is you and I are having the same experience at separate jobs of, like, watching these people that are 20 years in,
Right.
like, kind of fall apart, not have enough time for their families, wishing that they would have took more time for their families.
And everyone's just counting down to retirement. Like, they're all like, oh, only 15 years left. I'm like, 15 years? That's a really long time. Like, if you've got 15 years, I've got, like, 40. Like, how is this?
And that's the thing, is you have to do 40 years in a company in order to retire.
Yeah.
Like, technically it's 20, but when you start the job in your early 20s, it's 40 years to get to 60, 65, 67, whatever the retirement thing is for you.
I just always have been kind of disillusioned by that. I remember having an argument with my mom in the kitchen, like, when I had just started, like, graduated university and was working a corporate job, and was like, this can't be life.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to, like, show up 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, almost the entire year, get, like, 2 to 3 weeks vacation.
Yeah.
And then, like, I do that for 40 years.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, that's what everybody does, because that's what she did, and that's what my dad did, and, like, that's what everybody does. And I was like, I don't feel like that's the life.
There is an aspect to that I think that a lot of people don't notice, or, like, don't notice what they could do. For instance, what I'm saying by that is, like, we don't make as much money as what we made when we were living in corporate America. And if we were to continue that path, we would be, like, probably high-end wealthy at the moment, right?
Sure.
I wouldn't say high-end. We would be, like, middle class.
We'd be A-okay.
We'd be doing very well.
6 years ago, we were both making you were making a little more than $100,000 a year, and I was making a little bit less than $100,000 a year.
So it's probably about $200,000 a year between the two of us. We were pretty good at we're still
we could have
very
been
good
dinks. Double income, no kids.
Yeah, double income, no kids.
Bought a couple houses.
Yeah, we could have bought a couple houses, rented those out, been really smart with our money, and we would probably be sitting in, like, by the time we were 40, potentially being able to retire if we invested everything properly, right? So you can.
Well, and
do
that's
that.
why I like this whole, like, FIRE program that people have. It's like freedom, early retirement, something, where, like, you do work that job and you work it hard, but you save your money.
Yeah.
And you retire by the time you're, like, 40, 45, versus, like, having to wait till you're 65.
Yeah, I mean, and, like, I think that the people that get stuck in those jobs are always in the want of chasing, like, either material things or a better life for their kids or whatever it might be, and all of it's respectable.
There's nothing wrong with working a corporate job. If you like what you're doing, do it.
I think for us, we realized that chasing that in particular didn't make sense. We still want to chase that, but in a different way, on our terms.
Like, chase success, chase financial freedom, all of these things. But I just don't think that the way that our brains works in that setting.
So let's get back to when we met, right? So we meet, we go on our first date. And we were supposed to go on our first date on, like, a Sunday. Instead, it was, like, a Friday. But yes.
No.
Okay, you tell me then.
It was definitely a Sunday.
It was a Sunday, but it was supposed to be 2 days later, so it was supposed to be like a Tuesday or some shit.
So you got it backwards.
I got it backwards.
It was supposed to be like a Tuesday, but it ended up being a Sunday because I had a friend in town, and you'd asked me if I wanted to meet up this weekend. I said, no, I have a friend in town, so I have to hang out with her.
Yes.
And then Sunday morning, my friend was deeply hungover because we'd gone to karaoke.
She bailed on you.
Until like 6 in the morning the night before, and so she bailed on me, which is fair. So then I texted Frank, and I was a little bit worse for wear myself, but I was like, you know what? Hey, if you're still free this afternoon, like, let's do something.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'll come pick you up. So I picked her up. We went to Barcade and we played some games and hung out. We had a pretty good makeout session, like high school all
Our
over
first
again.
kiss.
Yeah, our first kiss.
Frank, you have to make it sound
Okay, you tell me, because I feel like from your perspective,
romantic.
it will be cuter.
We had our first kiss.
We had our first kiss in the barcade.
Sitting at the bar.
Yep.
Yeah. It was
And
very cute.
It was very cute, yeah.
And
you're right.
respectable.
Yes, it was respectable for sure. And then we hung out and made out some more, very respectfully. And then we left that bar and we went to another spot. It's funny because neither one of us drink anymore. But then we went to another bar after that. That was down the road that we walked to.
Well, you weren't drinking anymore because you were driving that day. So I think we had like maybe 1 or 2 drinks at the barcade.
Yeah.
And then at the next bar, I had a drink, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And then we went for ice cream at the Brooklyn
And
Bridge.
the second bar was to kind of break up the time so that way any alcohol out of my system was completely gone. And I remember sitting at that bar giving you like a massage. And the lady who was singing at that bar like goes, "I'm next." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we were cracking up laughing. But at the first bar, I remember saying to Alex, like, "Hey, don't get attached to me. I'm gonna be traveling." I was like, and she was like, "What do you mean?" And I kind of explained what I meant, that I want to snowboard all these different mountains and I want to figure out a place, in North America that I would like to like kind of settle down in and whatever. And so we continued that date on. And then as we were hanging out, I wound up saying to you, like, "You're pretty cool. Like, if you wanted to come with me, you could."
And so in my mind, I was like, when he told me about the truck and trailer like travel thing, I was like, oh, that sounds like pretty cool, actually. Like, I could get on board with that. And then when he asked me to come, my immediate reaction inside my head was like, yeah, like, why not? But then out loud, I was kind of like, like, maybe, like, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, we had literally just met a few hours before.
I mean, I was saying it not...
We were spending more time making out than we were talking. Like, I didn't really know you very well.
I was saying it more like jokingly, but also at the same time, I really did enjoy your company, and not just the making out. Like, we were laughing a lot. Like, it was just fun. It felt good. It felt right. And, so that's why I kind of like... jokingly, I open invited you, but it wasn't like I feel like it wasn't a full invite, but it was like a thought process to put in your head, maybe.
Sure.
And yeah,
it worked.
It did, and so we continued to date for a while. Forever after that, basically.
We are still dating.
Yeah. And so we went for like another couple months, and Alex.
Well, so we met probably in like the summer, June, July, and then. By December, we were pretty like serious, and you had come to Canada to visit with my, you'd met them once before, maybe.
Yeah, I met them once.
We had like brunch with them one day. They came to visit me in the city, and then so you were coming to spend a bit of the holidays with my family.
We started talking about moving in with each other too.
Well, so we had kind of started not at this point.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Because. On New Year's Eve, you told me that you loved me.
Yes, that's true.
Which was really sweet. And then
Alex was like, when is he going to tell me he loves me?
Well, also, that trip was like such a disaster because
I got sick.
Frank, you got stopped at the border.
I got stopped at the border.
Coming across the country. Almost
sick.
didn't get let in. We still have to deal with that stupid incident.
No, we don't. That's gone.
Recently.
No. The Alaska one is the one that we deal with now.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, Frank got stopped at the border. We did have to deal with it for many years afterwards. Then he had a car accident.
Oh, you're right. I was backing out and I hit this lady's bumper and ripped her bumper off. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It was just like one thing after another.
Then he threw his back out.
Yeah, I threw my back out. Yeah, it was a lot of things.
It was a lot of things that trip. It was like Frank couldn't catch a break.
I feel like when there's a lot of pressure and a lot of whatever going on, that's when diamonds are born, Right. No, I mean, I think I was just a little bit nervous and like, I don't know. I think at that moment I knew my life was going to change, Oh, you also vomited all night because we went out for dinner as a family.
And
I got sick.
And then at like 2 a.m, you woke up and threw it all up.
Yeah. But you know what? Alex stuck me through all these things. And I knew that she was the one,
That's sweet.
Yeah,
and that's why he told me he loved me on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
And then we got back to New York City, and maybe like a week or two later, he came over to my apartment to like hang out. And I was like, hey, I got something for you. And he was like, oh, what's that? So then I like bring out my computer, and I've got a spreadsheet. Because this whole time that we've kind of been dating and talking, like ever since our first date, when he kind of planted this idea of a seed in my head of traveling, I was kind of asking him questions.
Kinda. You were asking me questions quite often. I should have caught on to it.
I was just trying to like feel out like, so what kind of truck, what kind of trailer, like where would you want to go? What's your plan of like things that you would want to do? And
so here's my like materialistic corporate New York mind, and I was like, I'm gonna have a brand new truck, a brand new little mini mate trailer, and I'm gonna pull it behind me, and I'm gonna put myself in, $100,000 of debt. And one of the big things that Alex and I would talk about when we first got together was financial like awareness and, understanding of like, where are we financially, and I was actually in the process of still fixing like my credit and stuff. And I was at the point where I had it fixed already, but the 2-3 years prior to that, I was working my butt off to fix my wrongdoings when I was in college.
Right.
So I made all these changes, made all these fixes, and we would talk financially quite often. And so what we realized is that financially it wouldn't be smart because of what you opened up.
So I made this spreadsheet with, how much it would cost for a brand new truck and a trailer and a year of travel. And if you're going to go to all these places, how much gas money you're going to need and how much are your groceries every month and all of these things. So I mapped out that like, in order to travel, this is how much you would need to save per month to travel for a year. Because also we'd kind of talked that like, this would just be like a 1-year trip.
Yeah. And so Alex, what she's in the background doing this, I have no idea what's going on. And so she brings me upstairs and she opens up her laptop, and sure enough, she has this Excel spreadsheet of exactly what I need to do to save my money to travel for 1 year for me specifically. And I just like looked at her and I was like, you are definitely the one at this point. And I was like, there's something missing. And she was like, what? And I'm like, you're not on here. And then, sure enough, she swipes her page over and she has her own Excel spreadsheet for herself.
I was like, don't worry, I'm coming. And here's my page. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. But so what I realized from doing that was that Frank's goals were unrealistic.
Well, I wouldn't say my goals were unrealistic. What I wanted during it, like to get...
Well, the truck and the trailer was unrealistic.
I'll say this. It was realistic if I wanted to work unlimited amounts of overtime before I left.
Or if you were only planning on going for like a little while, because you would have had a car payment and a mini mate payment.
For sure. But
and so like, I feel like you were planning you weren't planning because you didn't have a spreadsheet.
No, I'm not good.
You can't be planning if you don't have a spreadsheet.
Fact of the matter is I'm not good at planning, and Alex definitely is the planner of the two of us, and I'm very thankful for you in that aspect 100%. Like, that's you and not me.
Yeah.
I'm trying a little bit to get better at like taking initiative on stuff like that, but I am not that guy.
Mm-hmm. So anyways,
I have dreams.
I think your dreams were like these New York dreams.
Yeah.
Of like the New York budget. You make $100,000 a year. You could afford whatever you want. Like, you know, whatever. And $100,000 a year, I feel like in 2018 went a lot further than it does now.
It does, for
in
sure.
any case. Also, in doing all of my like van life research, I had stumbled upon all of these van life channels, which I didn't even know that van life was a thing.
Yeah.
Right? So you say truck and trailer traveling. I'm like, what does that look like? So I start, getting on the YouTube and seeing like, what does that look like? And then I found these channels like Trent and Alley and Eamon and Beck and
Mr.
Chio
and Mrs.
Ventura,
Adventure.
Mrs. Adventure, and was like, oh, wow, like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I really like this idea of like the van.
Well, and you started presenting to me, and then we started watching together, and then she's like, do you think you could build one of these? And I was like, yeah, but like, do I want to spend my time building one? I was like, maybe we look at something like within our budget first. And
yeah, so then we started looking for RVs.
In like a $5,000 to $8,000 budget.
Yeah, like I think it was a $10,000 max budget for an RV, which is very low.
It's extremely low. Like, considering the market wasn't crazy, so like you could find things, but it was definitely, we were finding like 1980s to 90s rigs that were worse for wear.
Yeah, we did find some like cute, like the very first one we went to see was like fat. Like we were like, we'll think about it. And then we were like, we really want this.
Yeah.
And we were going to buy it. And then they actually pulled it off the market. And we were like, gosh. And then everyone that we saw after that just couldn't hold a candle to the first one that we saw.
Yeah. Well, it had the bones and everything that we wanted. It definitely needed like a full... I'm so glad that we didn't buy that.
Who knows?
No, because let's be realistic. There was water damage on that wall. And it would have been...
He did say we needed to rip the whole roof off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was cute.
It was cute.
It was cute. That's how you sell a camper. You make it look cute.
Well, it was also a V10. Like, it had the power to get anywhere. It was just like it would go slow going up mountains and stuff. Like, it was a big rig. It would have been interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, we saw a bunch of trailers or RVs after that, and just all of them were like so trashy and so terrible and like fire hazards and like hoarders. And we were like, okay, well, I'm like, Frank, come on, like we can build something.
Yeah, but before we get to that, let's talk about one last one. Remember we went to go see the one where the guy was smoking in it and shit? And first off, Alex and I do not like smoking. Like, no
Frank's
cigarettes.
dad died of cigarettes.
Yeah. So like, this guy's smoking this cigarette, and we pull up.
He's like, come on in.
The thing smells like cigarettes. It's I want to say it was a Airstream?
Roadster?
Oh, yeah.
Road
Trek.
Trek?
It was a road trek. And so we're like looking at it, we're like,
Well, so here's the thing. So I saw the listing on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to him and he said, oh, that one actually sold already, but I have another one that you could come and see.
Mm-hmm.
So, the original one that I was looking at was maybe like $7,000 or $8,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
So I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be like whatever. It was nearby. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So we go. He's disgusting. Their thing is falling out.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's literal parts of the inside that are like falling off. Like the roof is falling off on the inside.
And
the
I was
shower's
like-
not working properly. It's just
it won't start because the battery was dead.
the carpet was disgusting.
and then we're like, how much? And he's like, 25. And we're like, 2,500, right? And he goes, no, 25,000. And Alex and I nearly hit the floor.
we laughed in his face. We were like, for this you want 25,000. He's like, it's a collector's item.
Yeah,
And we're
and-
like,
And then
no,
the funniest
sir.
part was we went to go start it up, and it wouldn't start up. And then he asked me for a jump.
Yeah, we had to jump.
So I'm
the
like, no problem,
vehicle.
I'll give you a jump.
Yeah, it was
That
so
should now be
ridiculous.
25.
Yeah, so can you give me a $500 discount because I just saved you a mechanic fee?
And I understand, like, that's just a dead battery. It's really easy to fix. Swap out the battery, probably bed sell or something like that.
Yeah,
No big
but
deal. But yeah,
Not
just
a good omen.
No.
We wouldn't have bought that if it was $2,500.
So yeah, we start talking more like, is this what we want to do? Do we want to buy like an old beater that like we might have to fix anyway and build
And then
anyway?
we're watching all these YouTube channels where people are building their own, and we're like, you know what, we could do this.
Yeah, and so then we decided to like start looking for vans, and we looked at several of them, lots of leaky ones.
Well, also I think the thing about New York City is that people go upstate or out of town. They buy whatever van they can find, they bring it back to the city, and then they raise
try to
the
resell
price,
it.
and then they resell it in the city because it's a finder's fee, whatever.
Yeah.
So I start spreading, because we saw a couple in the city, and there was literally like oil leaking all over the engine.
They're
and
like, oh, it doesn't have blow by. Meanwhile, you could definitely tell that's blow
I'm like,
by.
it's
You're
leaking.
okay.
There's oil on the ground.
Like, I'll think about it, buddy.
Yeah.
See you later.
So eventually we find Lolo, who
Yeah,
ended
Lolo.
up being our first van.
So that one was up for sale for like, I think 6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I talked him down to 3.
I think we paid 4.
No, it was 3.
Really?
It was $3,000.
Okay.
But I was like, I'll give you $3,000, and he was like, sure, I'll take it. I'll put 2 cars there.
Cool.
I was like, all right, sweet, thanks, man.
And she was in need of a little bit of love.
She was a bit rusty.
The engine was pretty good.
Yeah,
we didn't have any issues with the engine for the first like 90% of our trip with her.
Yeah.
There was some rusts that really needed to get dealt with. We spent the first like month or two that like building, literally just like cleaning. It was so gross.
Towards the
like,
end, she needed a head gasket.
Yeah, but her engine did quite good for quite a long
she was
time.
powerful. Like we had got great fuel economy with it. Like it was good. We had a couple of issues with like starting in the real cold, but that's diesel for you anyway.
So we started building in like the summer, and then we finished by December 27th. We hit the road for full-time van life.
Yeah.
And by this point, we had moved in together. We told our jobs we were quitting, like all this stuff. But so our plan was to get on the road, snowboard 71 mountains in a single season, and
Which we did.
yes,
We freaking did it.
we did that.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That's like
Well, you snowboarded them. I visited.
you were at
them.
you were at everyone, and you snowboarded 41 yourself.
Yeah.
For somebody who was like your first real season of snowboarding, that's incredible.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
You amazed me. I will say that I don't think we would ever do a challenge like that again, especially now we have a kid. But
with a kid, it would be impossible.
yeah, but like we were run down from it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I kind of gave up snowboarding halfway through, because there were some days where like we would get to a mountain, and then you would do one run, get back in the car, drive 2 hours, do another run on a mountain, drive 2 hours, sleep at that mountain, wake up the next morning, snowboard to that mountain.
That was really East Coast too, for the most part. West Coast became like at least one day. Except for Aspen, we did 4 at Aspen, but they're all right next to each other.
Right.
But you did that one with me where we did 4 in one day.
Yeah. But yeah, so there was just like, it was super fun challenge, but the whole goal was that we would see all that there was to see in America and Canada, and we would know where we would want to live.
Honestly, I would. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I want to say this. I had an idea, and I would love to do this, but I don't know if I have the time to. Like, go back and talk to the people that I met at each one of the mountains and talk about the trip. That'd be pretty cool. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck finding them.
Nah, there's no way. There's absolutely no chance. I can't find Jim, so it's over.
Yeah, seriously. So we're going to go on this trip. We're going to be gone for 1 year. We saved enough money in order to live on the road, live in Lolo, this first van that we built for 1 year. We're going to see everything that we need to see, and then we're going to know where we want to stop, and we're going to buy a house, and then we're going to settle down, get back to real jobs, get back to real life, start whatever that looks like, wherever we decided that we wanted to.
Yeah. And so we traveled around for quite some time. We realized that this life was the life for us.
Well, yes. We were enjoying ourselves, but then the whole world shut down.
Oh, that's true. Okay. So we were in Lake Tahoe when everything shut down. I'm like thinking, I'm going to get done with these mountains. We're at like mountain 68 of the 71 mountains. And we were in an interesting spot. And so everything shut down, and Alex and I kind of looked at each other and we're like, what are we going to do? And my sister lived in Seattle. And so we were like, let's just book it up to Seattle. And so we got the things we needed, and we left like in the middle of a blizzard.
Yeah.
Because we were like, let's just get to family, because like we don't know what's going on with the world right now.
Mm-hmm. And all the mountains had shut down. Basically, like, our goal to go to all these mountains got shut down because all the mountains are closed now.
Yeah,
and then they're talking about maybe they're going to close state lines. And they're talking, like, everything was very uncertain, very weird. The news was, like, very scary.
Yeah. I think we were at mountain 65. I think it was Mammoth Mountain. And I met Sean White. And I told Sean White and his friends, like, I'm snowboarding all these mountains, and there's nothing that's going to stop me. And, like, I got cocky. It's like whenever you get cocky, you just get, like, humbled.
The global pandemic was Frank's fault.
Yeah, it was my fault, guys. I'm sorry. I wasn't anywhere near China or Wuhan or anything like that, but somehow it was my fault.
Yeah, you got cocky.
I got cocky.
And the whole world
shut down.
Yeah. So, anyways, we go to your sister's house. We're kind of like resetting, rebooting. There was a huge airplane flying really low right there. Do you see that?
No, I'm missing it.
Oh, it's like right there. Anyways, we stop, we reset, we hang out with your sister, her husband, their daughter. It was good, but then also, like, by the time we were done there, we were feeling very itchy and, like, ready to move again. But while we were there, the big thing that happened was that we decided to combine forces. So what we haven't mentioned so far is that I had a YouTube channel before I met Frank, and Frank had a YouTube channel.
They were both like hobby channels. So mine was a hobby of snowboarding and like wakeboarding and stuff like that, like just hobbies that I enjoyed. I kind of like, I think I might even put like a baseball one on there, a softball one on there at one point in time. But yeah, it was going to be like more like a sports related channel because that's what I'm interested in.
And so I actually had a secondary certification as a health coach. And so I was doing cooking and food vlogs and healthy things and yoga challenges and like
I'll say
like
Alex was building a brand and I was just doing a hobby.
Yeah. It was everything is for a reason, and
for sure.
like it's funny because we both already independently had this interest in creating videos and creating content
Yes.
before we even met each other.
And my goal was to get monetized on that channel and like, you know, continue to do the things that I love to do.
But you didn't have a spreadsheet.
I didn't have a spreadsheet, and I honestly didn't have the time or discipline to edit every minute that I wasn't snowboarding.
Right.
Because like literally to get that done, I would have had to get done, hang out for maybe an hour max with whatever we were doing, and then directly back to editing. Like that's what I would have to do, and then I would have to wake up first thing in the morning and keep snowboarding.
Yeah,
blah,
I mean,
blah,
it's
blah.
hard to like run a
crazy.
YouTube channel when you're working full time and have other stuff going on.
Yeah, and then I was the full-time driver for us too on top of that, so it was
Right.
like impossible.
Well, so I think we're talking about two different things because you're talking about once we got on the road and was doing channels, but
Before, no, I'm saying, well, that led into me trying to like because before I didn't have the time either because I would go to my job.
right. So you're saying that once we got on the road, okay. So once we got on the road, Frank still had his own channel and he was trying to do snowboarding at each mountain
Correct.
video.
And you started to pivot your channel towards what we were doing, living
like
life
eating
on the road.
healthy in the van and
Yeah.
stuff. But it was still like healthy focused, like because I was the hungry health coach, and so I was like day in the life. What are we eating when we live in a van?
Mine was called F-Bob Vlogs.
Hey man,
Hey, you know, you gotta try.
it's better than Mr. Pimp Forever.
Oh my gosh, my AIM name.
So we're both independently making videos, but then we're kind of like, we're obviously living our lives together. We're
Yeah.
living in a van. You know, we're filming kind of some of the same stuff, but then editing independently. But then I have my camera filming my stuff and you have your camera filming your stuff. But then nobody's really editing your vlogs because you're really busy,
Yeah.
you know, snowboarding and doing all these things and taking care of the van and like
Yeah.
whatever. And then I'm doing these like healthy vlogs, but then it's not, I don't know. It was just kind of like, it was disjointed.
off-brand, and we were wasting time by not working together. Instead, we were working separately near each other
Yeah.
while doing all the things together. So it was kind of like we were a character on each other's channels, but not. It just didn't make sense.
Right.
It didn't make sense.
But we didn't really realize that until the pandemic. And so when we stopped and we were at your sister's house, we really started thinking like, why are we doing this on two channels? You know, like let's just combine our forces, make one channel that we're both working on. So now we have two people editing for one channel,
Yeah.
working on one channel, helping answer the comments, doing all the things, blah, blah, blah. At this point, our channels were both still quite small. Mine was monetized, but was barely making any money from it. Really, it just made sense to combine forces and do it together. And we came up with the name FnA Van Life, which we thought was kind of like a cute play on words. Frankie and Alex Van Life.
And a little bit of fucking awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're like FnA Van Life.
FnA, man.
Yeah. So we rebranded.
I still like it.
I still like it too.
I feel
Everything
like it
is
works.
FnA, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're now combined forces.
Yes. Yeah. Which actually was like the best move we could have made because not only did we combine forces, but we really started thinking about branding and like how do we make this to where we can make this a living and a lifestyle for us? Because we did put up a couple videos on Alex's previous channel that like we saw some income come from and we're like, oh, we could like potentially make this into our like jobs.
But it wasn't that good before we switched. I feel like really when
we
exploded was when we
FnA Van Life.
switched.
Yeah.
And by exploded, I mean slowly grew over the following 6 years.
Well, I'll say like within 6 months, we probably grew like 15K.
Right.
Which was crazy at the time
well,
for us.
also, there was that whole thing of everyone's at the pandemic staying home, and we're traveling in our camper van.
Yeah.
And so van life on YouTube was kind of exploding.
I feel like we were like, we came kind of right after the like Trent and Alley's and the Eamon and Becks and like, you know, that whole group. We were like the next group.
The next cohort.
Like,
Because
coming
also, a lot of them ended up going more like the homestead.
Well, the pandemic was happening, so it was like they're
Right.
trying to finish their travel, but they had to like go home because they're in these other countries.
Right.
Like,
And then
it was-
now they've bought a house somewhere, they're getting land, they're doing these kind
Everything
of
was
things.
really uncertain, and they couldn't travel because their vans were somewhere else.
Right.
So now we're on the road.
We're traveling. And yeah, so we were getting like pretty good traction. And also at the time, like our expenses were so low because we were being super duper frugal. Like we for that 1 year of travel, had planned to only spend $2,000 a month total between both of us.
Yeah.
Per month on everything.
Yeah.
So we were being incredibly frugal about all of our choices. And by the end of the first year, so like we left December 27th, 2019 was like our first, we did like a little mini trip before, but then that was like our official like launch date. Like we're out of our apartment completely. We're gone.
Yeah.
And then by, December of 2021,
Okay.
December of 2020,
Okay.
we
True. Yeah.
were earning like almost $2,000 a month on YouTube.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, we could definitely make this like a living, because at the time our expenses were so low that I think a month was about $1,000 to $1,500 max. So we were actually coming out on the positive side with just the YouTube AdSense income, not including sponsorships and brand.
Because we hadn't even thought about that or figured
No.
that out at all yet.
But I think it was really helpful the way we were doing it. Like we were doing the 3 videos, one of them being a live, or was it 3 videos and a live? So, but the lives would help us out a lot, because at the time people were really looking for, this aspect of community, and we were able to kind of bring that and bring people into that community. And so we had quite a few like super chat battles on our channel and things along those lines, and they were so much fun to like see everybody interact and create this community. And actually I would love to go back to doing lives at least once a month or something, just to show face and be there and see everybody, and especially we have so many new people there. It would be cool to see the old community and the new community interact. But with that being said, we had a decent formula to make enough money to be on the road and make like a little bit to put away, or like try new things.
So we officially were like, okay, we're not going to go back to like real life. We're not going to settle down and get jobs again. We're going to try to make this YouTube thing work.
Yeah, and we knew that the next step for us was we wanted to make Alex's dream come true, because we already made mine come true by snowboarding the most mountains in a single winter season ever by anybody. And so we were like, Alex always wanted to do the Pan American Highway. And so
it was on my bucket list before Frankie and I even met.
Yeah. So with that being said, I was like, okay, this means that I don't want to do this in a rig that I'm going to have to fix along the way.
Right.
So we decided we were going to sell that rig and put the money that we get from that rig into a new rig. So that's what we did.
Yeah, so we sold Lolo, and we made a fairly good profit. We bought a $4,000 van, and, hard to not make a profit, I guess. But, in that time, obviously, the van life thing had exploded.
Yeah.
And so we did pretty okay on that sale. And then we basically took all of that money and the fact that we hadn't filed our taxes yet. So we still had our
work taxes.
It still looked like we were making corporate income.
Yeah.
So we could show the car dealer that we were making corporate income.
So we got like a crazy good
interest rate.
Yeah, everything was great.
Yeah, and we were able to finance the purchase of Olive.
And we were able to find a rig with only 5,000 miles, which was basically brand new because it was never owned by anybody. And
it was like a
dealership rig that they definitely put a little damage to that we didn't notice till after.
Yeah, but it was fine.
It was fine. We got it fixed and whatnot and all good.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we bought the van for about I don't know, I would say about $10,000 cheaper than what we would originally spent for it. And then a couple months later, they actually called us back and tried to buy it back from us.
Yeah, so the explosion happened again after that. The whole car market they couldn't get cars, something about the microchips, whatever. Yeah. So then the used car market had really exploded, and so they offered to buy it back so that they could sell it to somebody else for even more.
For $15,000 more than what we bought it for.
Yeah, but so we were like, you know what, we're already down the road, and then we wouldn't have been able to find something else.
No,
you know what I mean?
Not for that price, and we already cut a fan in, all this stuff, and so we were like, nope, we're not going to do that.
So for our van life trajectory, it's kind of worked out that the first van we bought before van life exploded, and then we sold it when van life was exploding, and then the second van we bought basically brand new before the used car market got all janked up, and then got to sell it after the used car market was janked up.
Yeah.
So we did make up you know, I don't know what janked means, but that's my, like, if it means something awful, I don't know. But I'm just, you know, like, we lucked out in that regard, because one of the ways that we financed our trips has been, like, buying and selling rigs.
Yeah. So it wasn't only the, you know, YouTube ad revenue and the sponsorships, but it was also turning around and selling those rigs for a small profit. Nothing was crazy big profit, but everything was like we felt was reasonable for the buyer as well as, you know, for ourselves. And so long story short, we found ways to make money on the road to make life, you know, possible for ourselves.
And it's been very variable over the years. Like, the YouTube has gone up and down. The brand deals have gone up and down.
Every time we sold a rig, except for the first one, we were like kind of a little bit worried about money. And so like when we went and did the trip south through Central America, we couldn't get brand deals. And our ad revenue dropped a little because we weren't doing the lives anymore. We were making
like no money while we were in Central America.
And our videos weren't doing as well.
But we were having an amazing time. Like, the trip was worth it.
And life was cheaper down there.
Yes.
So, and I think that kind of changed our perspective on, you know, the reason why maybe we talk about money a little in our videos and how we feel everything is so expensive is because maybe we compare it to like the time when we were in Central America. You know, and which I would say it's not fair, but that's just our mindsets now because of what we went through. And maybe we got to change our mindsets and realize, okay, maybe things are affordable for us.
But I think that people will generally agree that the prices of everything have increased.
Sure, but we are financially frugal.
We are financially frugal, which is how we can afford to live our lives and not worry about things. But I will say that based on the time, we need to wake up our child.
Yes, we do.
If we want her. So here's the other thing is that we set this podcast up and then couldn't get the mic working. So we spent about 30 to 40 minutes trying to get the mic working. And her nap is not that long.
So and with that being said, I think that we might actually end this podcast here and we'll pick you guys up in the next episode. So if you enjoyed it and you want to know more about what like really happened, what went on, and what the next steps were in our lives, subscribe to the podcast.
Behind the scenes, Mexico and Central America and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's going to be some good stuff. So we hope that you guys stay tuned. Share this with a friend if you enjoyed it. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for making this lifestyle possible for us. And we're really excited to get this stuff out to you. So,
And we hope that you enjoy the new format of the video podcast because it seems like you did based on the first one.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep making them if you guys keep watching them.
All right, well, we hope you guys have an FnA day.